So this was a very thorough look at how Flutter builds its widget tree, how it renders content on the screen, how it updates, and what you can do to make sure that it updates efficiently. And that brings us to writing good code. Now, what is good code? I'd say there are two important pieces that make up good code, two possible definitions. When we speak about writing good code, we could be speaking about writing readable, understandable, or maintainable code. So code which doesn't really impact the performance, neither negatively nor positively, but which is easier to manage for you as a developer. Or we speak about good code that follows certain practices which can help with performance, such as using the const keyword in front of classes or of class constructors, which give you constant objects to avoid unnecessary rebuilds of these widgets in the Flutter widget tree, what I showed you in the last lecture. Now, let's go to the readability point. It might sound unimportant because performance is the most important thing, but actually it's not, because the more readable your code is, the easier it is for you to work on it to improve your app, and the easier it is for you to write code with little to no errors. Your code should, of course, be understandable to you. That's most important. You have to be able to understand your code so that you can maintain and change it. And when I say understand your code, I mean you should also be able to understand your code in a month or half a year from now. So think about your future self. Your code might be super clear to you right now, but if you have an app and you want to change or edit something in half a year, if you need a day to understand your app code structure again, that's a day lost. So you want to write code which you can quickly get into and quickly understand how pieces are working together. Also, if you're working in a team or if you're sharing your code with others, you should of course also make sure that your code is understandable by others. So you should follow certain common practices and in general write clean and clear code. Now, for performance, there are certain practices, like using const, which can help with app performance. And you should, of course, try to implement these features or these practices. Now, it's important to know, though, or important to keep in mind, that you will always miss certain possible improvements. And that's not automatically resulting in a bad or laggy app. We have very fast mobile devices, and the apps you're building might not be very performance hungry. So even if you can improve the performance, it might simply not make a difference to your users because your app is already pretty quick, even though you're not following every single best practice. Because you will always overlook some optimization opportunity. So checking your app thoroughly is definitely something you should do, and you should be open-minded for new practices and see how you can improve your code. But if you spend days only looking at your code and seeing where you can squeeze out another millisecond, then it might not be worth it if that delays the overall development of your app. Still, of course, it is an important part to keep common patterns in mind and try to build or to write code which also helps with performance. Hence, you should always reevaluate your code and explore new best practices, even if you have your app already published and you might thereafter have learned about a new pattern which can help with rebuilding or avoiding rebuilding of widgets. And then you might go back and improve your code in places where you can use that.